Welcome to the last video in the series. In this video, I'm going to share with you the work that I created while I was in college at UC Berkeley. I arrived at UC Berkeley undecided, and it wasn't until I decided to apply into the College of Environmental Design in order to major in architecture that I actually had to do some prereq classes, and those included very intense drawing classes. And you're going to see those drawings in this video, along with some of the elective classes I ended up taking later on in college. The work that you're going to see here alongside my major in architecture, doing very traditional hand-drawn architectural plans, has really shaped how I approach art today and influenced how I see the world and how I see 3D space as well. If you happen to miss the first two videos from this series where I shared artwork from my primary school years and then high school, I'll link them here in case you want to start from the beginning. Did not apply to college knowing what I wanted to do, and thankfully I did undecided. I got into Berkeley and I thought I was going to do business. And I took some econ classes and they went right over my head. I even tried to do computer science, also went right over my head. But I tried, and when that didn't work out, I decided to do architecture because I heard that we could do drawing and it felt a little bit creative, yet a little bit technical, and I thought it was a great in-between. Because I didn't apply to college knowing my major, I had to get into the School of Architecture. And in order to get into the School of Architecture, they had a bunch of prerequisite classes. One of them happened to be a drawing class. To my surprise and delight, it was a very formal drawing class because I loved drawing. So it's just really following what I had been doing this whole time with my art teacher, with the summer class I took at the local art college, and I had so much fun. A lot of these are just line drawings with pencil. Hopefully you can see them on the camera. There were some that were quite detailed. We did elevation work. It was, after all, a prerequisite class for architecture school. So, of course, we needed to do some architectural drawings. And this is an elevation of a building on campus. It's really interesting because on the back, I'm noticing that it has the number of hours that were spent. This one says 12 hours. So, yeah, you can kind of see how much time it took. This one I remember was a 24-hour drawing. She called it the 24-hour drawing, I believe. Coat, desk, and chair, she called it. I think everyone picked a coat, desk, and chair to do. This one on the back I wrote 26 hours, so I guess it took me 26 hours to do this. I vividly remember setting up this still life in the shared house that I lived in with 12 people, and nobody could move it, basically, for a day so that I could do this. A collage. So I also did charcoal. If you know the campus, if you went to Berkeley, this is iHouse. It says on the back, I took 9 hours for this, and I got an A or an A minus. I don't know how they grade these things when I think about it. This is another still life. This one, also a view from campus. I remember this one. This was a collage. We had to take 2 pictures and put them together. So this is sort of like, I remember thinking, oh, it's like them as children and then them as adults, childhood friends. And then that was my idea. And then we were supposed to draw it with graphite. So this was how mine turned out. It says it took, photo montage, 15 hours, it says. A lot more, just single line work. This is inside one of the buildings. Starting to get a little bit more architectural, I guess you could say. Some of these are the earlier exercises before getting into the larger buildings and bigger spaces, like studying an elevation of an object, like a common object, what it looks like when you're just looking at it straight on. Oh, this was my room in the house with 12 people. I shared it with another person who slept on this bed And I was on this bed, and we had a window looking out into the side yard, which was just like a little alleyway with overgrown shrubs. So interesting. You can see the TV. It kind of brings me back. These were elevation studies for it. Little thumbnail sketches. And this is, you know, the idea of doing something in elevation, which is looking at it straight on, in plan, and then in section, which means you cut through it. So this was really the beginning of me learning architecture and all of the terms. I think these are just studies. These were the studies before the finals that you saw earlier. So it wasn't just like a one go. These are done on thinner paper. I think this was a self-portrait. This is a contour of a full figure. So somebody is lying down on a chair. This is very dirty, but you can see this is the elevation study of that building, Hillgard, and then some details, and just looking at some of the details on the building, the lettering that was on the building, the windows, and what they look like. So, you know, it's a 4 by 4, so 4 across the top, 4 across the bottom. So just doing a little bit of a study before getting into it. We had to do, this was a study. This is my grandmother who had passed a long time ago, and so she had already passed by the time I was in college. And we had to do a full size, I wish I had a photo of it, a full size, like sort of like cardboard figure, like life-size cardboard figure. And this was the study of what she would look like. Just a few more of these. Very repetitive. I think that's the thing that I see when I look at these is I've done a lot of the same things over and over and over. A lot of objects in elevation, a lot of studying line weights, a lot of doing little thumbnail sketches to decide on which layout to do. And then this is the start of some of the gestural sketching that you're going to see later too. So here's another, you saw the bigger one of this earlier. There's thumbnail sketches for it that were done. Oh, this is the quick Conti crown study for the coat desk chair before diving into the pencil version. Here's a bunch of thumbnail studies of what it might look like. I was just doing different placements of things. Here's the thumbnail sketches for the eye house that you saw earlier. The beginning of gesture. This is a 3-minute figure. Hands, which you will see more of later. More elevations from different sides and plan views. A shoe. After I got into architecture school, I took some classes that they counted towards the curriculum, but they weren't technical. It's not like structural engineering and any of those more technical classes. This was called visual studies. I purposely picked it because I really wanted to do more drawing and art. And so there's a lot of sketching and trying different mediums, a lot of charcoal, this is ink and wash. Very, very messy. I can't remember why we did the exercises this way, but it's definitely like a learning curve. Here's a ink sketch of the classroom. More ink and wash and charcoal, I think. The beginnings of more hand sketches. A lot of like a gesture. There was a big component of this that was hands and figures. So you're going to see a lot of those here in this flip through. This was, I think, done with what is it called? A bamboo nib with paint. I was not a big fan of that. 5-minute sketch of a hand. More ink and wash hands. Lots of hands. I always knew that doing hands, you can learn a lot about drawing from doing people too, figures. So I really enjoyed Conti crown. This was really fun. It's a fun way to sketch. I haven't done it in so long. Another charcoal piece. There's a lot of studies leading up to what is the final. This is one of the final pieces. I think we had to turn it in for homework. more self-portraits. I've never been good at self-portraits. Portraits are something in general that, like, look, this was definitely not good. But apparently, I had a bob. I remember this. I had a bob in college. Okay. More self-portraits. I think I'm just not comfortable drawing myself. This is a foot. It's not my foot. Remember that. Foot, feet and hands and faces and bodies. These are a bunch of little sketches on computer paper. Do you remember this paper? This like printer paper with the holes on the sides? We did so many like 1 minute sketches here of the live figures, nude figures that would come and pose for us. Just beware as I flip through, there will be nude sketches, and in case it makes you uncomfortable and you don't want to see them, then there will be some coming up. Okay, these were all from classes. Super quick. I really loved this. I feel like I got a taste of it if you remember from the previous group where I was doing it and I was still in high school at my first nude drawing, like live drawing experience for figures. And I feel like, getting to college and having more familiarity with both the medium and the exercises, I was a little bit more confident in making more bolder strokes. Still trying to figure out proportions. I think that will forever be a thing because I don't practice figures enough. But I do think that doing figures is such a great way to learn about proportions. And all I remember is my art teacher from when I was young say that if you can figure out how to do the human body, like you can figure out how to capture that, you can pretty much capture anything. I do think that's true. I'm not always comfortable doing the human body. It's not an easy thing, and it requires practice, and I have not practiced it for so long. So if you asked me to do this now, it would be very difficult for me to produce something like this. I would be very out of practice. This is really interesting because they had us mix charcoal with ink. So, or not charcoal, with water. And it produced some really beautiful effects, I felt. This must have been one of the earlier ones. I feel like it's still looks like a study. These are not in order of when I did them. I wonder if there would be a way to see progress. Sometimes I can see progress, how things have shifted and changed. Or maybe one of them is an earlier versus a later. Maybe this one was earlier. Hand. Interesting. So this group of work is also from my visual studies classes. I took 2, and this one's all color and watercolor and oil and pastel. So it's really interesting to find these because, of course, I have even earlier watercolor work. And now there's, watercolor work maybe years after. And you can see there's color mixing charts of some sort. I do not remember doing these, but it's on Arch's watercolor paper. I guess that's the first time I used sheets, and I somehow forgot when I started revisiting watercolor again. Here is like a square study. I don't know why we did these. There are even stroke marks here, maybe trying to figure out a palette. I actually don't know. I don't know. I think I must have tried to do something, and look at this. Is just, I chuckled when I found it, and I thought, wow, I can't believe I kept this around. Just no date on the back. I'm so terrible at dating my work. I still am terrible at dating my work. This is such evidence that we can start something, not know what to do with it, and then continue trying and figure it out. So I don't think they necessarily taught us watercolor. So here's a few more pieces. Here's this one. If I flip it over, you can see it better. It's smaller, and it's a night scene, which, wow, I looked at this. I don't remember painting these, and any of these. And what a scene to tackle. Okay, so we have that. We have this one, which you saw the charcoal sketches of it earlier. And I guess this is the watercolor version. And another note about this. It's like a quarter-size sheet. It's just a reminder for me that I need to start painting bigger again. These aren't small, they're big. I mean, big for me. They're not huge. But I could push myself more. So here's a set of oil pastels, which I thought was interesting and fun. We did these on the back of postcards. Flowers. A room scene. There are some master studies in here too that I found that you'll see. Abstract. This looks like an abstracted version of this, which I think we were studying. See how it has the arches? This is a master study. I didn't write what it is, but this is a master study. You probably can recognize it. I believe this is too. I wish I wrote it. Another self-portrait that is not very good. Bamboo. This teapot has, you saw this as a sketch too. I think it's just, there's a lot of things that have found their way into a lot of the work because that's what was around at that time. My feet. These ones are my feet. Still life. This is a master study, 100%. This as well. And this is, I think, a view inside of where I was living at the time. Definitely a master study. I think I wrote this one, Stega. Yeah, the tub. And here's just a series of larger ones that were taped together. And they're probably too big to show. They're just oils and they're abstracts. So really large pieces. Again, working really large, and I'm something that I haven't done in for a long time. This is an image from where I was living at the time. Bedroom. Another master study, Picasso. Abstract piece. That's all. So that wraps up a look at my work from college and from my childhood. I had a lot of fun flipping through and looking back at a lot of my old work and getting to see what I did. I think seeing a full progression just shows that everybody goes through the same journey in a way. When you start, it's not very good. And as you keep going and making progress and staying somewhat consistent, even if it's not daily, but it's over time that you continue to hone your skills, even in different mediums, I think that we are always going to be growing. I always say that we learn something every time we paint. And really, it's more like we learn something every time we sit down to create anything. And I'd love to hear if you have ever gone through your old artwork, if you've thought back on the memories of creating art, and whether or not your journey was consistent went, or whether it was broken apart and you took a big break and came back, or maybe you switched to mediums and you found different passions as you've gone and explored different creative outlets. Let me know in the comments below, and thank you for watching this series of videos. I'll make sure to link the first 2 videos from the series in case you missed them. Thank you so much again for coming along and taking a look at all of my childhood art. I'll see you in the next video.